Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. So, what if there's something you haven't learned yet that could change everything? Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions Publishing, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. This one is called We Lead, Building Connection, Community, and Collaboration for Women in Business. This is volume 3 in a very powerful series. I want to give a shout out to our lead author, AliceAnne Loftus, first before I introduce these other authors to you today. AliceAnne, man, you have a big vision. You wake up every morning driving toward that vision. And this book series has been freaking amazing. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for the stellar group of expert authors you gathered around you for this book and all of the books in this series. So we wouldn't be here without you. Thank you for all of what you envisioned for this project and the series, and for your amazing co-authors. And I've got some pretty cool co-authors in my Zoom room today. Jennifer Osterhaus is a graphic design expert specializing in creating impactful branded marketing assets in both print and digital formats. Erin Harrigan is here. She's a Christian speaker, author, and biblical business coach who equips high-achieving women, empowering sisters in Christ to redefine hustle and pursue success aligned with Jesus. Lori Gross is in the Zoom room. She followed an unconventional career path, including founding the Antarctic Experience, a travel consultancy where she educates thoughtful and curious adventurers and advocates for conscious Antarctica travel. I get an award for bio reading, y'all. I just do. I'm giving it to myself. Okay, so we're going to start the party off with you, Erin. Tell us a little bit about the why behind the chapter that you wrote.
So my chapter is chapter 3. Kids learn the darndest things, the value kids gain from watching your success. The impetus behind my chapter is my 2 daughters, 28 and 26. And I spent a lot of time both in corporate and at the beginning of my entrepreneur journey feeling really guilty because I was leaving them. I was spending time pursuing the work that I was doing. And I wanted to understand, what did they learn from that? What did they take from that? And it also gave me the opportunity to get really good feedback from these 2 adult women who are now pursuing their own paths. One is entrepreneurial and an artist, and the other one is a 9-to-5 dedicated employee. I wanted to give readers the opportunity to take a breath and know that what they're doing is important and that their kids are benefiting from it.
Yes, I'm so with you. I'm writing alongside the same age 2 kids, and actually very similar situation with one of them each in your same kinds of work and jobs. So I love this topic. Once upon a time ago, I said, they are my teachers, like from the beginning. And if you have the awareness to pay attention to what is in front of your face all day long, you will see it immediately, right? What else do you want to tell us about that?
They are watching. There's a term or a phrase, more is caught than taught. And I want to be clear that as I use the word success here, I mean failure also. Because we often think of, oh, we want to be thriving, but we miss the point that a seed thrives in darkness, right? And so your successes, the sum total of that, are also the mistakes you've made, the challenges you faced, but how you've come out, you've gotten back up from a fall or a setback. And how we do that speaks volumes beyond the words that we could use to teach them.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you're talking about some of the hard days, and I think y'all are going to be dropping some huge golden nuggets of awareness. You'll hear me say that a few times, and this is one of them, because if you can recognize that you're in there and And what, Aaron? And do something different? What do you want them to think about in terms of like when they're recognizing that they're in that darkness?
Recognize that you're there, but that is necessary for growth. The seed needs to be in the dirt to grow, right? To be fed, to be nourished. And I actually start this chapter with a story that I'm banging on the steering wheel of my car talking about how I hate my job, and my teenage daughter sort of rolling her eyes, but she, to this day at 28, still remembers that moment. And so we can embrace those moments, be aware in those moments, and yes, do something different, but also give ourselves the grace that that is part of our growth.
Yeah, I love this. I love this so much. Aaron, thank you for saying yes to this project, for being here to share today.
Thank
So,
you.
um, all right, let's see. Jennifer, I'm coming to you
Yeah.
next. Tell
Yeah.
us some why behind your beautiful chapter.
Yeah, so mine is chapter 18, and I have had the honor to be in all three of the books. And in this book, I went a little vulnerable, which was a different for me. Chapter 18, creative by nature, caregiver by necessity, navigating your business in the sandwich season. So I got hit with two very big life events happening almost simultaneously. And I had to learn how to navigate that along with continuing to run my business. I've had my business for over 25 years. And so a lot of life things have happened, but two things happening almost at the same time that both demanded my time on top of continuing to work and run a business was it was monumental for me. And I felt like there are other people going through this. There are other people who have been through it. There are other people who are going to go through it. And I just felt that it was really important to share my story because somebody is going to take some nugget out of this, whether it's in the tool section or just something I say in the story that I truly hope will help them to navigate this. I mean, it truly is sandwich season for me. I've got granddaughter, aging parent, and I'm right there in the middle.
Oh my gosh, no doubt they're going to get something from that beautiful story and all of y'all's stories and tools. Like it's just magnificent. I kind of want to back up to that. It made me laugh, like, or they're gonna go through it, because it's true. Like if you haven't gotten there before, it's coming probably. And I'm in the middle of it for other different reasons. Gosh, no grandkids yet. Maybe one day, but this is stressful when the business is also your livelihood and there's priorities you're trying to juggle, but then family first and all the things, right? So, like, if you're sitting in the middle of the chaos, what do you want people to know? Like, maybe first little step, Jennifer, what did you do?
I'll be really honest with you. I family is important to me, but my business, I wouldn't say that I put business first, but like Aaron was saying, I missed some things along the way with my kids because of working and running my business. This particular situation, I didn't have a choice. Like, you know what I mean? It was like I had no choice but to address my family situation, and I wanted to. So it wasn't a case that I didn't want to. I think that the very like the smallest tidbit would be just to recognize the situation that you're in and recognize that sacrifice is going to have to be made, but everything's going to be okay. Like, you know what I mean? It's like because I had to push a project back, my whole business isn't going to crumble. Whereas like I operated that way for a very long time. It was kind of like how I was conditioned to work. So I think that first step or that first like thing to think about is like it's okay if something has to give to make room for something else.
Yeah, really, really good. I mean, most of the stuff we're adding that's creating stress is happening because we're adding baggage to the baggage of the, in our mind, and like making up scenarios. Like take a breath. It's going to be all right. One step at a time, one day at a time, some days 1 hour at a time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer, thank you for being here, for sharing, for your beautiful chapter.
Sure thing.
Lori, let's hear a little bit of your why. You ready?
I'm ready. Thank you. Thank you for having us here today. I wrote chapter 2, which is called You Do What? And it's about creating your own luck and living the life you want. And actually, the title came to me really easily because that is something that people say to me all the time when they hear about the different things that I've done in my life. And, you mentioned in my bio the very unconventional career path that I have followed. And, I wrote the chapter to show people that you actually really can create luck. There's really kind of small things that you can do in your life. And, you know, my generation didn't really necessarily all follow that unconventional path. When I was in my 20s, there weren't very many people not going kind of the office job route. And now it's a bit more common. And I think it's scary to people to have this idea of something they really want to do. And for work, for life. And I guess I wanted to write this to show people that it doesn't take, large things to make it happen. It's really small steps that can get you where you want. And while I've been lucky in a lot of ways, that luck isn't accidental. And so I just kind of wanted to show people kind of how I got to be doing what I wanted to do, and that it's it's something they could do too, pretty easily.
I think that I was listening to just a minute ago. You said something about that. It doesn't take some big thing. It's another thing that maybe we're making up in our head is like, I won't ever be able to get there. It'll be too hard. Don't have the right connections. I mean, like, so if you were going to like coach somebody in that mindset, or even like yourself back then, if you were looking at yourself back in that journey, how would you start them off on the path for this big dream idea?
Well, it's a great question. I always wanted to live a life, I always say, rich in experiences, maybe not necessarily rich in money, but rich in experiences. Luckily, I have been able to do well and not suffer financially following that path. Um, but what I would say is, if you have a one big, dream, just start talking to different people about it, putting it out there just in regular conversation. This isn't, something that you have to start researching and start whatever, but, just in conversation, hey, I really have always loved this, or, this is something that I was thinking that I might want to do. And but listen very carefully to what you get back, because someone might say, "Oh, I know that. I know someone who does something like that." And the key here is to follow up. And I kind of tried to think back to how I got to where I am today. As I've many things I'm doing, but as founding the Antarctic Experience and working in Antarctica for the past 2 decades as an expedition guide, like how that all started. And it all goes back to a conversation I had with a friend. Actually, he wasn't even a friend at that time. He was a friend of a friend at a party when I was 20 something. And that kind of set off this path of dominoes of because I followed up with what he said. And it's interesting. I actually said, "Hey, this chapter's coming out, Scott, and you're mentioned in it. You know, that conversation, you might not remember the conversation we had, but it kind of changed the path of my life." And he wrote back and said, "Oh, I remember." He completely remembered, but it's because I followed up. So I think that's what I would say to people is, follow up with people. It doesn't have to be this big thing. It doesn't have to be a big interview if you go talk to somebody. It can just be coffee, and but keep following up, and that's where it leads.
Yeah, I love that as a first step for all of you listening. Go say it out loud, right? Say it out loud to the people around you. That's how these dreams, come into fruition. Lori, thank you for saying yes to this project, for being here today. I've got a huge thanks for all three of you. You took the challenge, right? You said yes, but you took on my challenge of putting your vulnerable stories in this book. So thank you for doing that, for being real and giving us a peek behind the curtain of your real lives. But then you're stepping up with giving the reader these practical experiences, these tools and practices and strategies that helped you. And they are going to have such big gifts inside of that piece of your chapters. I love it. I love the entire book for these reasons. You all did this so brilliantly. I want to talk about leadership. So, Jennifer, what does authentic leadership even mean to you?
Okay, so authentic leadership, I mean, in personal life and professional life, right? I mean, you're a leader regardless of what you're doing in your life, whether you're a mother leading your children and your family, or you're owning your own business, or I mean, even if you're working for a company, you're still, potentially a leader. I think that I don't know if setting example is the right, I don't know if setting is the right word. But people are watching you. Like if you're a leader, other people are watching you, and not in like a creepy stalker way, but just like in a way of like, oh, well, what is it that she's doing? And oh, well, you know, I think that people can portray you in one way and don't necessarily know all the layers of what's happening and what's going on. But I feel like leadership, like kind of like Erin's chapter. I have a daughter who's 25, and I didn't realize how much she's watched me over the years, and how me as a mother and as a business owner, like I was in this leadership role that I did not realize. And little tidbits of things come out every now and then from her that I'm like, huh, wow, like she was actually same thing happens in business as well, but that's just like on a personal side. So I feel like authentic leadership, obviously being yourself and doing what your values are, right? Like, again, your values are your values, whether it's business or personal.
I love how you kicked this question off. I'm imagining these moments too. You hear your kids say something and you're like, oh, you are paying attention. Thank goodness. That's so cool. Right. And you just have to let go in the moment of modeling and hope a lot of the time, but then they bring it back to us. They do.
Yes.
All right. So Lori, tell me your version of this. What does authentic leadership mean to you?
Well, I mean, a lot of what Jen said as well, being true to yourself and living a life that lives your values. People are watching, whether it's children or nieces, nephews, even adult friends. People are watching, and and they're looking sometimes to you for some sort of leadership. And I think that it's not just leading, isn't just kind of being here and delegating out. It's very collaborative for me. People joke that I love connecting people with each other, and really taking into account lots of different people's opinions. I work on a team in Antarctica, and while most of the time I'm the assistant expedition leader, and that's responsible for planning, working with the expedition leader and the captain to plan different things that we're going to do, and the safety of the guests. One of I see my big roles as a leader is really checking in with the staff and making sure that that they're okay, because if they're not okay, then we're not going to do well as a team. And so that's really important to me as a leader.
I like that example. Thank you for adding that. We lead in so many different ways. I think one of my favorite sayings about leadership is great leaders make great leaders. Like it's not a, you gave that little motion with your hands, it's not like a top down. It is like, how can we pull our friends together and all be doing this thing together? All right, Erin, I know you've got a couple of 2 cents to add to this. What does that authentic kind of leadership mean to you?
Well, I would echo what Jen and Lori said. The piece that I would add to that from, my biblical lens is authentic leadership is also humility. And so I've shared verbally and often not verbally challenges that I've had in leadership with my kids. And then, as you all were saying, I've seen them pull that through into their own lives. Um, and to go back to my analogy about the seed thriving, listen, sometimes as leaders, this happened to me recently, we're not at our best. And so, do we as leaders also have the humility to admit that, the humility to stand up and say, you know what, I was wrong and I could have done that better. And the key in that humility is the self awareness. And from my perspective, it's always turning to the Lord to say, search my heart and tell me, right? But also, who are we surrounding ourselves with that can even see us when we're not at our best? And we can feel that we are in a safe space to operate in that way, and then they help lift us up. So I think that humility and being able to be surrounded by the people, and that is a lesson my kids have learned. They have learned who could be in their circle and who shouldn't be in their circle. And hopefully they're learning, I think humility sometimes is hard in your 20s. So hopefully they are learning that.
Might be a little harder in your 20s. Yeah, I kind of remember that. That's so important. It's such an important nugget there, about inner circle. You guys get to choose it and curate that in alignment with, Erin said it, a safe space is like number one priority. Y'all are so awesome. You guys are just awesome badasses. Like, you're all modeling leadership in all of these amazing, authentic, different ways. And this is this book. I want to dive into these experiences that you're giving people, the teachings, your master teachings next. Lori, what's the most important thing you want people to know about creating their own luck?
This is hard. I kind of already mentioned how important it is to remember that it's small steps. You don't, luck isn't, yes, there's just random luck where you find a penny on the ground, but they've actually done studies. There's a really cool book I reference in my chapter. There's actually been studies that show that people who walk around with kind of a lucky mindset um, do are luckier. They did a study where you put a $5 bill on the ground in a coffee shop, outside of a coffee shop, and have people walk in who feel like they're lucky people and people who kind of said they weren't naturally lucky. And guess what? The people who didn't feel like they were naturally lucky, they walked right over the $5 bill. And it's amazing to me. They scientifically proved this, that if you just feel like you're a lucky person, it actually helps. And I like to call it kind of an adventure mindset of, just always be out there and looking at, what are the possibilities? And if plan A doesn't go right, I deal with this all the time in Antarctica, plan B isn't worse than plan A. And especially in Antarctica, it could be so much better. I've had people say to me like, wait, we weren't supposed to be here and we just did all this great stuff. And so I think just keeping that adventure mindset is the one thing I want people to take away. And that if they've got kind of these blinders on and this is the path I'm going, and there's any sort of change, that change could be great. Or look around as you're walking around, talk to that person next to you. just have that idea of I'm a lucky person and I'm going to have this great adventure and good things are going to happen. And I'm going to be part of creating that because I'm going to talk to people and follow up and do all of that. So I guess that would be my one takeaway from the chapter.
I love it. Adventure mindset. Yes. I'm asking the universe what's possible here every day. Like every day. I love that. Okay, Erin, you're next up on this. What's the most important thing you want people to know about that value kids gain from watching your success?
So there is a scripture, it's Proverbs. I mentioned it in the chapter, train up a child in the way he should go and he will remember or he will not forget it. So, one, that your kids are watching. I don't say that so that you'll feel guilty or self-conscious or, somebody's watching me, but that there are teachable moments, right? Everything you're doing is a teachable moment. And two, that you get to curate in that moment, if you will. In the practice that I share in the book, I talk about involving your family in your mission, vision, and values for your business, right? Because then they automatically feel part of it and they get a say in that. And they then begin to understand, what is my role in helping mom achieve this vision that's for all of us, right? Inviting them to help you with goal setting. Inviting them to be part of your business in some way. My younger daughter, the artist, is my VA, right? So she gets to see what it looks like to run a business. My older daughter has been my event assistant, that sort of thing. So to take away that you don't have to silo your business off from family, which I think many women don't often integrate the two. And that whatever the ages your kids are, you can integrate them into your business such that they feel part of that ownership. They feel part of that team. And there are valuable lessons from that teamwork.
I love that so much, Erin. And my son is my systems and tech support guy, and my daughter is my part-time social media manager. And they're both watching mom and like figuring that out. And but the thing that you said about if they have a role in helping you make the dream come true, that's a big deal. Like this is a legacy thing, y'all, too. Like how juicy is that? Right? That is really, really cool. Um, all right, you guys, to all of you, Jennifer, Erin, Lori, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. I want you all listeners to know this is way more than a book. This is a very generous community, and they are waiting for you to reach out. If you drop into the show notes, I have all of our authors hooked up with their links and their info. Go explore what they're talking about today, right? Go figure out what they're doing. They're there to answer a question and give you some support and kind of pull you along that next step on the journey. And of course, we want you to go get your copy of We Lead Volume 3. So I've got the Amazon link down below for you. Also, please get your copy of this beautiful book. Lastly, today, everyone, remember your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.